and welcome to Urban Insights. I'm Jayashree Kurup, and I have with me Mr. V Suresh. He's the chairman of the National Building Code, and he's also the former CMD of HUD. Mr. Suresh, today the National Building Code has just presented its changes for the 2025 version. So help us understand why a National Building Code needs to be constantly updated, and especially in today's world of climate change, how it works.
Very good. The building code has got a fantastic history of the last 55 years. The first version having already come in 1970, subsequently revised in 1983. It took 23 years for that revision to take place in 2005 for the third one, and 2016. Lot of interesting changes have come. One, of course, rightly brought in is the climate change related issue, which brings along with a substantial amount of natural calamities and disasters of flooding in the cities, as well as earthquakes and landslides, cyclones and floods. Cyclones are a very major fallout that comes over there, series of damages that comes to cities in a very large way. And the building and the built environment has got to really take care of that particular aspect in a very large way. So for resilience is a very important thing for all the disasters coming out. The building to be safe. As you know, the building code is built around the 4 pillars of safety, of structural safety, health safety, fire safety, and public safety. So as part of the structural safety component, you have to ensure that all that is built over there is safe for the citizens as well as the city that matters there. You got to build it strong and durable to take care of not only all the natural forces, but also all the natural calamities that keep on striking cities one out. It has become more accentuated, more so in the climate change one. You see the number of floods coming at repetition one, cyclones coming at repetitive interval, earthquakes also you would see, which was, you would not have heard it, after 90s, it started coming in a much larger way. And more so in recent years, we have been having the visitation, so you have to provide resilience for the building to deal with all these aspects on that. That's on one side. The second major aspect that comes is the climate change also brings along with that lot of issues which affect in terms of temperature rise. You yourself see what you're going through in Delhi, any of our cities, very high rises of temperature of a very large nature. Number two, it also brings along with that intensity of rainfall adding. Not that the total rainfall is more. In a short duration of time period, the heavy intensity of carpet bombing, like I say, the rainfall comes. Therefore, all cities get the flooding also in a large way. So, sustainability component of design becomes an important thing in terms of the use of all the natural resources, be it in terms of the water to be utilized or energy to be utilized or waste management coming. So all the Panchabhuta integrated water management, energy management, waste management, and more importantly, we are all hearing about the climate change global concern of getting the net zero carbon by 2050. Developed countries want it. China and Vietnam are putting it, and Saudi in 2060, and India has put for sustainable development for the net zero carbon by 2070. Even this long period is there, you got to get geared to deal with those particular aspects. So those particular dimensions has got to be covered. The Sustainable Development Goal to the year 2030, you've only got 5 more years to close up on that. So there are about 17 odd goals. There are many things which affects the building and the built environment and cities in a very large way. So that's one particular area. And second one is a larger event of the net zero carbon related work attached to that. So therefore, all this becomes one. Then large number of new building materials and technologies have emerged in the systems in a very large way. You got to capture that. Then India's density of development is adding in a very large way. For example, Maybe when you had the first building code brought out in 1970, the tallest building was only 13 stories of LIC in Mount Road. But today we have very easily tall buildings of 40 stories, 50 stories, 60 stories, 80, even up to 100 stories are coming in a large way. So when you're dealing with such dense developments of high-rise building, it brings along with it its own problem of not only from structural safety issues from wind as well as earthquake related one, plus also fire safety and related one. So therefore all these are issues within the old building in a very large way. And then you have the major initiative coming of the larger agenda of using renewable energy in a large way. India has already committed for 550 gigawatt of renewable energy, and that can't happen only in industries and all that. Residences have got to bring in, hotels, hospitals, schools, offices, everybody has got to bring in. So the renewable energy component through photovoltaics or solar water heating can be introduced in the part of the building code provisions in a large way.
Oh, now,
And one more aspect is the mobility one. The mobility, the EV has come. The automobile industry has really come in a very large way in the last 10 years abroad. But in India, last 5 years, electric vehicles started coming over there. But the building regulatory system, including all building bylaws, they have all been caught with their pants down. Not one line on EVs existence or availability on road is there. So they don't even know where to park, where to provide the charging points required. All these were not even considered because it is not part of that. So all this will find place now in the revision of the National Building Code.
Now the National Building Code is a recommendatory document, right?
Yeah.
It is like a baseline that India has created,
Yes.
which cities have to pick up.
I think the best way is the best guiding document on all aspects of built environment, and this will cover for not only the needs of all the construction departments at the central, state and local level, and more importantly all the urban local bodies here based now the latest about over 4,500 municipal corporation, municipalities and local bodies governing the cities. Even though we have about 7,800 urban cities which is there, but they are don't have regulatory bodies there. So even take this 4,500 number for them, for their building bylaws and development control rules, which actually regulate the construction over there in all cities and towns, including at the level of the villages, because the National Building Code is not urban. It is also urban and rural area. So rural area development also has got to come in this particular one. So this will be a document that will be useful to each one of them. You used the word rightly that it's a recommendatory document. It's not a mandatory document by force of law. But you'll be very happy to note that all the building regulations in the country that we have, both urban and rural, they do make mention of the National Building Code in that document over there. And many clauses on structural design, services, fire safety, fire protection. They say it shall be in line with National Building Code. Only that one line will be there when you open each one of the building bylaw. If you look into the Delhi building bylaws or the model bylaws or Mumbai or Calcutta, Kerala municipal building rules or Panchayat building rules, all of them make the moment that mention is there, that recommendatory status of the document has a mandatory status because they want compliance to the National Building Code through the regulatory documents of the municipal building bylaws and development control rules and building rules and other regulations and disaster protection, all that will be covered. So therefore here a classic case by itself, the stature is guiding document, recommendatory in nature, but how is already being used by the profession, the builders, developers, the architects, the engineers, the Institute of Architects, the Institute of Engineers, the Institute of Fire Engineers, the people dealing with structural engineers, they all make use of the building guide. And cases which has gone up to High Courts and Supreme Court, finally the building code is taken as a reference point for them. That's the highest level of acceptance that I said. When fires do take place in large number of school buildings or other one, they say please bring it in line with the National Building Code provision.
In the 2025 edition, what are the new elements that you added to the National?
Yeah, there are so many. I got a wonderful document which I have just just shown it to you, the document that gives you part by part what are the areas in which the changes have been incorporated. The new segments that have been added in this particular one, as I told you, starting on the issues related to governance and application, the process of the building plan approval process, in which we have really brought in too many issues related to renewable certificate. For example, previously once you get an occupancy permit of a building, OC they call it, you think everything is over. But then the building performance is going to be watched for a long time, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 70. How is the building performing? And are the building okay or not okay from fire point of view? Like you find large number of fires taking place in building, and like you have a lot of cases of structural problem there, retrofitting needed. So therefore, the renewal certificate component is now coming over there for buildings based on structural audit, fire audit, electrical audit to be done in buildings, not at very closer, once in 3 years or 5 years time, based on not annual renewal, but at least periodic renewal certificate being brought in over there. Demolition as in buildings now coming very largely for redevelopment, all that. So the demolition permit is an important component. How did just otherwise you get a development permit for land and development or a building permit for building construction. So now the demolition permit is also being brought in over there in the administrative clause. The work on the land development component, because the building code covers the whole canvas at the not only at the micro level for the building on a plot, but also at the level of the subdivision of land and all the amenities and facilities required to be provided for that through the development control rules and the general building requirement. These have all been expanded now to cover the integrated need. For example, all the new tools that has been used over there of transitory in the development, which is a very, very major one. We'll be very happy to know that it provides for the all these innovative tools which are provided in the document there. Fire protection is a very major area where the concerns are there in a very large way, especially buildings like school building, hospital buildings, and other buildings or taller buildings which are coming, industrial buildings also. So there are a lot of interesting provisions that have been added in that particular one. Structural safety is a very major area of component there to deal with multi-disaster prone, where there are nearly about 200 out of the 750 districts in the country which are multi-disaster prone. Otherwise, normally coastal areas are primarily on wind area, cyclones will come. Whereas earthquake is going to be of in the mostly India is divided into various zones. And I just thought you should know it. A new zone has been added. As against 5 seismic zones, India has now got 6 seismic zones getting added. One which is more critical. Those which are 5 slightly higher type of problem in the hill areas, complete of the UP hill, the Himachal hill, the JNK, northeastern region, that's got the 6th zone. The new zone has come in over there in terms of the perception of risks involved in that and how to make the buildings to be stronger and do this. So those on structural design issue, a large series of issues are coming over there. And then the whole issue of critical utility services, or be it on lighting, electrical installation, air conditioning, lifts and escalators, all these are very, very important for the building to really perform. And the modern day context, unless these things perform properly, the building is totally useless. You can have the most beautiful architectural looking building well, structurally it gets strong, but if these services don't function, it will not be good. So therefore, we have added substantial portion each one of those chapters in that. That brings you on the water supply and the component related to sanitation, recycling of water, reuse of water has brought in this particular thing. And more importantly, gas supply and solid waste management got added in this particular one. So you'll have disposal is a very major issue. So you'll have additions coming in that area. Sustainability is a very major component, which is which of course not only for the SDG goals, plus also climate change agenda. We brought in for the first time. I mean, 20% of the renewable energy should be come through solar, at least 20% of all the vehicles should be by electric vehicle. So that brings in the point, one of the reasons why you asked the question why is done. So we have put parking. If you've got 100 cars, at least 20 cars should be EV. EV charging point should be there. It is at present, none of the regulations in India has requirement for a charging point for cars at all. Even not only public charging points, the other one is within the building. Within the apartment building, you should provide that in school building, in hospital building, in hotel building, office building, data centers, all types of building where electric vehicles are going to be there. You require that particular requirement in a large way.
Now, there are two very critical levels of people who have to implement this. One is the professionals, the architects, the engineers, the draftsmen, the digital experts, and so on. The other one,
I have put an A to Z in that list. You'll be very happy. In part 0, if you look, literally there are 26 numbers of professionals which are there associated with the built environment. So, like you mentioned, a few of them. So, all of them have to be,
that is one. And the second one, and a very unequal partner in today's world, is the municipalities.
Yes.
The municipal governance mechanism across India is very, very faulty right now. And they are the ones who have to implement much of what you are recommending.
Maybe I'll put it in a little different way. Even though you got the point of view rightly. One of them is the most important thing called compliance. Namely, the code has got provisions to deal with all aspects of planning, design, construction, as well as commissioning and making the building to be maintained properly. So all the phases of the life cycle are taken. So that is going to be done by the departments, agencies, the builders, developers, the professionals which are big in number, the construction entities, service installation agents, they all deal compliance. But the most important component is the regulating agency. So let me put that way. So one is enforcement on one side, which is done by the regulating agency, and the other one is done with compliance to be done by all people who deal with the process of building for various purposes, buildings of all categories, etc., etc. Both are there. There are weak points on both sides, but at least on the compliance side, there are a lot of improvement ever since my own experience, the last 60 years time period, from the 70 version down to today. Now, if you're dealing with the 2025 version which you're working on, there are increasing level of awareness and appreciation of the codal provision, and by and large, the leading groups of builders and developers are, for example, the CREDAI, NAREDCO, National Real Estate Development Council, Confidential Real Estate Developer, they represent the biggest builders group. They all want to have compliance of whatever they build over there to be safe, strong and durable, so that they are producing a product for people, to the public, they want to be sure. So that's happening. The professionals also increasing level of thing coming to the Indian stuff, architects or institution of engineers, institute of structural engineers, the fire safety engineers or Indian Plumbing Association, all the professional groups, they all want to do that. But I do agree to your earlier observation, at the local body level, you require, while the governance aspect is there in the sense that the building bylaws and regulatory system has been going on, but they got to be strengthened in a very large way. The capacity and capability has got to be enhanced to deal with the building regulatory enforcement really. As a matter of fact, part of the thing is also that enforcement mechanism is not strong enough to deal with that. That's why I put it right at the beginning about the audits to be brought at regular intervals.
But an audit can only be performed by somebody who is aware of the nuances of the audit.
Absolutely.
Now today in the municipalities, either they're not aware or they don't have the monetary authority to do it. So what happens is that
they are the authority. They have the complete authority under the Municipality Act or Corporations Act, and ensuring the full responsibility is there for them to ensure the involvement. But they don't have the right level of capabilities and capacities to deal in terms of, for example, there's so many outstanding architects and civil engineers and structural engineers dealing with a 80-story building. Leave alone 80, even if it's a 2-story building, if the plan comes over there, somebody to say is it okay or not okay. They have to say, is it okay as per the bylaws, then they give the building permit. They give a clearance on that. So that So we are bringing in therefore large number of new mechanisms to ensure how all the municipal corporations and municipalities and regulatory authorities, it can be development authorities also in many cases, or industrial township regulatory authorities. There are a large number of people who deal with the building regulatory mechanism. So how to enhance that is already worked on. Plus we are also trying to find out how you can bring in the peer groups to be brought in within the city. So maybe they could deal with over experience about 20, 30 stories, but I get a thing on 50 stories, 60 stories. So what we are doing is we are trying to understand, bring in over there groups which can come over there called a peer group. Local bodies can set up, but we don't have it there, but it's been brought by the best consultant, not only from within the country, but also abroad. Many international consultants are working. Today's paper, if you look.
But the Indian cities are not still governed. These
I know.
what you've put in the National Building Code are sterling things that can actually make our document world rated, right?
It's got the world class content there.
Our cities are not world class.
It is not. It is not, but that has got to be working on. So now we are at the.
Is the building code somehow like you've mandated that there should be a compliance to the building code in the building bylaws? Is there any kind of provision that the cities should comply with that?
City should comply. We say what type of organization. If you say part 2 of the administration of the National Building Code, what type of people, the building officials and the whole team in the authority, what all facilities and capacity they should have that, and how to strengthen that particular one. We are now going one further, namely all the now application forms now can come online. I hope you know that. The even possibility of submitting just by giving a stick, we can give all the previously we used to give tons of ammonia prints and all the copies maybe for 50, 60 years back. Even recently, even now it's happening. But only 2,500 of our 4,500 odd cities which has got online building plan processing facility there. If such a thing comes over there, they should be able to see, open up that particular thing on their system. They should require the hardware and the software systems within the municipal corporation to deal online building plan approval. And it also requires the multidisciplinary, also the single window approach. The single window approach has not come in most of the local bodies there. So you've got to go from one. So you've got to go to the fire authorities, go and submit separately, go and give approval to the height clearance to the civil aviation department. Like there are so many 8 or 9 departments. So how you can coordinate that particularly with the single process application, going back to simultaneous processing requires to be done also equally there. Then by itself, the whole thing is a complex system. The building and your services are by different agencies. For example, local bodies do not deal with water. Water is looked after by Jal Nigam, or like a water supply board or a sewerage board undertaking or something like that. So the fire clearance is to the fire authority, a separate one. They are not part of the municipal corporate. They are the state department. So therefore, you require interdisciplinary approvals even among the enforcing or the enforcement authority. Even though we call the local body, the municipal corporation, the one point, lost point. They are the one going to give a building permit. They are the one going to give an occupancy, but they require inputs to come from all these services department on which they have to work together. Talmil. That's where it is not happening. You got to make it happen. We have identified to streamline the how shortest possible time we'll be able to give those particular clearances have been brought in there.
Okay. One more thing with digital twinning,
Yeah.
the probabilities of things going wrong or figuring out what can go wrong is happening. You talked about it at the.
I'm so happy you brought it. It's my mistake, I didn't open out. One of the major things that has been brought into the Building Code 2025 version is BIM has been brought in. That's called the building information modeling has been brought in at the planning level, design level, construction stages, and more importantly, use the word digital twin. Digital twin will come the moment the building is completed. Your completed drawings. Most of the cases you don't have that. And the new animal will come in over there after that. It was not there. None of the building codes anywhere in the world does not have that. We are aware of that. So we added the part 12 on asset and facility management. Namely, once occupancy started, the architect gone, engineer gone, builder gone. So it's going to be residents staying in the residential apartment there, or new tenants will come in the office space to take different floors, etc. Or hospital, the doctors will be there, teachers will take whatever. But the building has to perform as a hospital, as a hotel, so you require all the services to be maintained 24 by 7, right? So we put in the assets and facility management. We're extremely happy and proud. Part 12 has become an extremely popular document. World is looking up to this one. How India has already gone one step further, and how do you deal with that? All the checklists required for the firefighting system. Many cases the fire happens, comes in most of the building, you'll find the sprinkler was not working, detector was not there, no water was there in the tank when the storage was there, etc., etc. Or the lift is not so many. We keep on hearing every alternate day one of the lift person dying in the lift or something like that. Even though lift inspectorate gives the renewal certificate, we'll have to deal with that. So therefore, we added that particular provisions in part 12 of the National Building Code. And therefore, digital twin, about which you mentioned over there, will become a very handy tool for the asset and facility management. That's a new animal I'm taking. They are not like the architect who design a building or the construction engineer who do the actual construction or something like that, but they got to ensure that all the systems are working. When I say all the systems, your water supply system, your drainage system, your fire protection system, your vertical transfer lift escalators, so your air conditioning system that's there, generating set for generating the power, alternate power. So to keep that going, the digital twin is going to be the most important tool there. Once you get that, you get a complete list of not only the completed construction drawings, including the background behind that, where you bought that, for to know the history of that, for the people going to deal with the asset and facility management. And that is now growing substantially. The last about few years time period, the new assets and facility management companies are enhanced. So you require mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, civil engineers, you require environment team there, but they have specialists to deal that systems which are already built, they function properly with periodical checkups and audits over there. And also the new tools are, they call the building management system, BMS. BMS is a new building management system where you can continuously see the performance of the building, how it's going on, okay or not okay.
There are two things I want to know. One is the sustainability. You've talked about sustainability not only at the building level, you've taken it to the city level, the neighborhood levels, and so on. There's a new segment on
Yes.
that, right?
Yes.
If you could just talk about that.
Part 11 of the National Building Code, again, you should be very happy and proud as an Indian when the Sustainable Development Goal was brought out not too far away, just about 10 years back, September 2015, all the 193 countries, United Nations, the SDG 2030 was formulated there. But you'll be very happy to know that the very first version, the last version, which is 2016, current version, which is going on 2000, we brought the part 11 on sustainability in that chapter in a very large way. Very, very nice, impactful one. No, none of the global building codes does not have it. We are the one who brought the sustainability as part of the regulatory environment. Now, having done that particular one already there, now that covers all these issues or sustainability element there included in part 11 approach to sustainability. And the latest version here, as you rightly said, it is not only the building, it's the built environment, covers including the infrastructure and the neighboring areas, neighborhood areas, all get captured in that in a very large way, because large number of issues that you deal with recycling of water and reuse of water, you cannot do everything within your individual house, which you or even one apartment, your group of the effect has got to be there in a very large way. For example, we are going to bring into the particular one for the first time, like already Dubai, Abu Dhabi has got district cooling system. I think Singapore also has that. So we are going to, instead of air conditioning system to be brought in each of the building, you can have district cooling to be done a separate project in which each one can get, just like your water being given, electricity being given, telecom being given, you can also get in the cooling cup. So that's all getting added in that. And more importantly, we have got in net zero water, net zero energy, net zero waste, and net zero carbon getting added. That's the first time. These are all towards the sustainability component. And with one of the most important element is all these years we have been walking even if the green building movement has done successful, very substantial impact in India, we are dealing predominantly the operational energy. That means how much energy I can save in the light, in your fan, in your air conditioning, your pumps, everything. How less and less energy to be used on that. But we are not worried about the embodied energy of building material. For example, the amount of glass that goes into it, the steel that goes into it, cement and concrete that goes into the construction, and the sanitary ware that goes, all these requires enormous energy to make it. A ton of steel to produce that, how much energy? A ton of cement you produce, how much energy? And that all brings carbon into the air. So when they say net zero carbon, it's going to be a combination of operational energy and embodied energy. Embodied energy is being talked about. It was not even heard. Now people are increasingly talking about. Developed countries already have picked it up. When that's why they have put a 2050, they'll achieve net zero carbon. That means in the building process itself, that means effectively what's going to happen is the architects and structural engineers are going to make more and more of material with low carbon material. That means the building material with the least amount of carbon emission. You must be seeing lately large cement companies are going to make the green cement, green steel. The production process is undergoing a lot of change. The Chinese companies, the European companies, the way they make the steel production itself with least amount of carbon dioxide emission coming. So we are not worried. We never used to worry from where the hell it's coming. As long as I get the steel and cement, you're happy. But that's going to get part 11. You get into embodied energy. There are clear-cut benchmarks identified in the globally. On an average, business as usual, we are doing around 1,600 to 2,000 kg of carbon dioxide emission per square meter of building using structural. They are all trying to bring it down to around 700 for the European context. India is trying to put it between 200 to 500 because if you use traditional material like stone, lime, bamboo, they're all low energy consuming building material product. As again, high energy consuming product are steel, glass, aluminium, sanitary ware, all that particular one over there. So how do you get a combination of buildings into which the low energy component will come in over there? Can we get into somewhere around 200 to 400 kg per meter square of carbon dioxide emission per meter square? Now that's going to be important. Now these days in Europe, when they want to submit a building plan application, can you believe you got to give not only the building plan with all the detailed design for building plan approval, the local bodies are also demanding, please let me know how much is your carbon dioxide emission from this one building. So they will know the amount of glass that has gone in, steel that has gone into it. You know what I'm trying to say? All those components, and that they will put per square meter total. They'll say, I have come down to 800 kg. No way. Make it 700. But we are trying to get it into, that all you'll find in the sustainability chapter will get added.
One last question. Post-COVID, health of the occupants in a building has become center stage.
Correct.
So what does the National Building Code 20?
Very clear. Lot of industry provisions in that we will find in Part 9 on plumbing services. Plus also indoor air quality, it will cover in Part 8 building services, in the lighting and ventilation, including the air conditioning, heating and ventilation component, water and its reuse component systems they'll be coming. And equally important is going to be during the maintenance in Part 12 on assets and facility management. So health and well-being. Health and well-being is a very, very important aspect, and we have covered these aspects very well, not only in the respective parts dealing with the Part 8 on building services on lighting, ventilation, including air conditioning and mechanical ventilation component in that, or acoustics and sound insulation is another major one, which I didn't even make a mention earlier, and more importantly on water, sanitation and solid waste management. All these are related to the health related work. Very detailed provisions have been added for the point of view so that you have least amount of concerns for the health being affected. And more importantly on Part 12 on the sustainability chapter, also similarly of the clean air, air quality. Air quality index is a very major issue of spreading. More so here in the context of way in which the AQI going to 400, 500, 600, those type of thing, and indoor air quality related one, and then whatever filters, HEPA filters and filters, so that you bring in the right level of shield to deal with those aspects, so that the quality of air that we breathe does not have the difficulties on that's brought in there, and more importantly also in park dwell. These have been covered. And I'm very happy this has been included in a very, very good way.
So thank you, Mr. Suresh. This was an overview. We'll keep coming back.